Hey Warrior Saints, glad to have you beautiful people in with us today, which is Wednesday, which is also December 27th, which is the Feast of Saint Stephen, the Proto-Martyr. Now the Feast of Saint Stephen is pretty interesting as we're talking about thinking, because we see a prominent character from the New Testament present at the stoning of Stephen. However, he's not really on the right side of that encounter. It says to us in the text in the book of Acts that as Stephen was being stoned, Paul is off to the side. They laid their garments at the feet of Saul before he becomes the great apostle and evangelist Paul, before he has an encounter with Christ. And he's on this side. And then he has an encounter with Christ, with Christ's commandments, with the word of God, and he jumps and he ends up on this side. What happened? What went differently? What happened is that Paul saw that as Saul, his line of thinking was erred, and he began to shift where he was going. He had an encounter with the commandments of God and realized that what he thought to be true was not true. What he thought were the way to go was no longer the way to go. This doesn't mean that suddenly, like, the Old Testament was wrong, as Father was talking about yesterday, and then the New Testament is somehow better. It wasn't that something was having to be shifted. It was the way that he understood what was going on that shifted, and in that shift, we see the beauty. Remember what Father was talking about yesterday from Matthew chapter 5, verses 17 and 18, that he has not come to abolish the law, but to fulfill it. That none of the law will be changed, not even a dot, until all is accomplished. He goes on to say in verse 19 something that's very important. He says that whoever lessens even just a little bit one of these commandments will be considered least in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever upholds the commandments will be considered greatest in the kingdom of heaven. The commandments of God lead us unto life. They show us the way that we think. They show us, let me rephrase that. They don't show us the way that we think. But what they do is they provide something that we can test our thoughts against to see if what we are doing is really walking in the commandments of God, so that we might too have that change of heart, so that when we're not walking in the commandments of God, we can stop being like Saul and we can start to be like Paul. We can stop being one who allows for stoning of people because they're not doing it right, because they're not the right kind of fulfillers of the law. And we can actually become someone who is called the greatest apostle, who preaches the word of God, who preaches those commandments with great power and with great authority. We welcome you to join us as we're struggling in our own lives to shift from being like Saul and start becoming like Paul. Visit us at warriorsaints.org. Subscribe to the Way of the Warrior Saint. Get understanding the Bible. The 6-part battle plan is phenomenal. Get that too. But understanding the Bible, where we really take those commandments of God and we make them palpable. We make them understandable. We make them something that can become life-changing in our own lives. We'll be back again tomorrow, and until then, you keep walking on the way of the Warrior Saint.